When I left my marriage, my daughter was about 15 years old and I was homeschooling her. I didn't have a job. I didn't have any money. I let everything go. My house was foreclosed on. They repoed my car. I was filing for bankruptcy. um, and I had no idea. I had no idea how this was going to work out or where we were going to go or where we were going to live or what I was going to be able to afford. And at the time, I had 5 dogs and 3 cats. And my husband at the time was making pretty good money. So we had nice things. My daughter had nice things and nice homes. And we were in this weird place where we weren't divorced, we weren't separated, but we weren't together. He was living somewhere else. And the job that he had at the time, he made daily part cash, part money that went on to a check. And then he also had this other income that he had coming in about every 3 months. So what had happened was he just left the bank account with the money that was coming into that. And then he was taking and living off of the cash. So that's kind of the way that it was set up. But I had no idea if that was the way that it was going to stay or where we were going to go with that or anything. So I had no way of proving any kind of income or anything. So I started looking at places and me and my daughter got in the car to go look at this place, and it was down, not in a great neighborhood because I'm looking for cheap, something that I can afford. So we go down and it's just it's this little shoebox of a house. The backyard has this rickety, horrible fence, that probably isn't going to hold the dogs. Arguably, it's not a great neighborhood and all of these things. And so we get into the car to go back home and I'm upset. My daughter's upset. We're just upset. And she's saying, I don't want to live there. I don't like that house and so forth. And I'm like, I understand, I don't either, but I can only do what I can do. I have to, so we're not really arguing, but it's just, it's heated. We're upset. Everybody is, we're just upset. And in the middle of this, I stop at this red light, and for some reason I turn right, and then I turn right again, and then I turn left, and right in front of us is a for rent sign. And it stopped us both, because we were, and then we both like, wait a second. And so I pull over and we're standing in front of the sign, and my daughter's like, I think we should probably at least look this up or call somebody or something. That was just weird. Like, why did you turn? I don't know why I turned, and I don't know why I turned right and left. And so she's getting to, her phone or something to write the phone number down. And all of a sudden there's a tap, tap, tap on my window, and I roll the window down, and the guy's like, are you Jennifer? And I'm like, no. And he's like, you're not my, 11 o'clock appointment or something is supposed to show the house. And I said, no. And he said, are you sure? Because, no, I'm not Jennifer. And he's like, well, I guess I got stood up, I was supposed to show. And he looks at me and he says, well, do you want to take a look at the house just so I feel like I didn't come out here for nothing? And look at my daughter. We're like, okay, So he goes and he's unlocking the house, and I'm saying to her, well, I mean, it's weird, so we should go look at it, but I probably can't afford it. And, I don't think anybody's going to let you have so many animals and these kinds of things. So we go in, and the minute we walk in, we're like, this is perfect. Like, she's happy, I'm happy, everybody's happy. And he shows us around the house. We look around the house and everything. And now we're just standing in the kitchen. And I don't really know what to say or to do, because now I have to go to the place where I have to explain what my situation is, right? So we're just chatting for a while. I'm avoiding, and I'm using my Leo energy to be like fun and, these kinds of things. Like, maybe my personality can help me out here. I don't know. And then he says, well, what do you think? Are you interested? And for some reason in that moment, I just decided, you know what? I am just going to lay this out here. I'm just going to be honest with him. I'm just going to tell him the way that it is. And I said, I'm very interested. I think we both are. I think we would really like this house. But here's the situation. I said, I'm not really divorced. I'm not legally separated. But we're not living together. I don't have a job. I don't have an income, but he gives, money that just goes in direct deposit into the box, into the bank and so forth. And he goes, okay, can you pay the rent? And I said, yeah, I think so. He says, that's all I care about. And I said, okay, well, when it comes to like doing the application and everything, are you going to need him, to sign it or on it? Because he goes, do you want him on it? I said, no. And he goes, then we don't need him on it. I'm like, okay. And then I said, and here's the other situation is that I have 5 dogs and 3 cats. And he said, oh, okay. He's like, are they well behaved? And I said, yeah. And he's like, do they cause problems? I said, no. And he goes, okay. Well, I don't see that that's a problem. He goes, maybe you only have 2 dogs. And I'm so dense. Like my daughter gets it right away. I'm so dense. I'm like, no, I have 5, and he goes, but maybe you only have 2. And I'm like, but I have 5, And she's going, he's trying to help you out here. So, he goes, I'll start the paperwork. I'll get it all going. And so we leave and I'm thinking there's no way that this is going to work. Like, he doesn't even own the house. Like he's going to go back to the guy, the property man, whoever. And this is never going to happen. And he calls me a couple days later and he says, if you want to come and meet me, you can sign the thing and give me the check for, to move in and I'll give you the key. And I meet him and he didn't even charge me all the pet fee because he had said, well, maybe we just have like a higher pet fee or whatever. He didn't even do that. He only charged me for like one animal, like one single pet fee, waived a couple of other things. I mean, I got into the house like dirt cheap and signed the paper and didn't have to have the husband on the lease and had no proof of income and had all of these animals. And it was just a crazy situation of like, how did this even happen? And to go down even further, the guy that owned the house, he had his friend that was kind of managing it was a commercial realtor. But he was just helping his friend out by managing the property. So this other guy that kind of worked for him part-time, helping him with things, was the one that was actually coming and showing the property. They didn't really have any other properties. This was like the only one that they really had, and nobody really cared about it. And just to add a funny little note on it, that he was a tattoo artist and he ended up giving my daughter her first tattoo. So it's just, it's crazy sometimes how when we try to control everything, it just doesn't work out. But when you just give in and you turn right and you turn right and you turn left and you have no idea why you did that and you just show up, somehow it all turns out. And to this day, this was a very long time ago, probably, I don't know, 17, 18 years ago. I still think of that story sometimes and I still, you can't explain it. You can't understand it, but it makes you feel like something's looking out for you. And sometimes even now when I'm just thinking, oh my God, how am I gonna? And then I say, would you remember when you turned right and then turned left?